In this video, I'm going to be talking about software architecture. Okay, so what exactly is software architecture? So software architecture is just simply it's a pictorial representation or just an illustration of a software system. That means its components and how the components are interconnected. Okay, a simple example would be the way we have, let's say, Facebook, right? Facebook has got a login system. So this is the part where you log in. I'm going to call it L. So after you log in, if your password is correct, you're going to go to the dashboard. Okay, like that. You're going to call it D. From the dashboard here, you are able to make a post. Okay, able to make a group. You are able to play games or to go to the marketplace, right? So when we have all these components, okay, marketplace, post, let's say maybe a reel, you see. So this diagrammatic representation of how each component is represented by a triangle, and we can see how all of them are interconnected from the login system, from this login here, to this dashboard, to the posts, to the reels, and to the marketplace. So software architecture just simply means it's an illustrative diagram or pictorial representation of a software system, right? All its components and how they are connected and how they interact with each other. So that is what an architecture is in computer science or computer programming. So what are the types of software architectures that you have? So there might be more than this as I'll teach you, but these are the fundamental architectures that are going to come across in almost each and every application. Okay, the first one is going to be the database architecture. Okay, so with the database architecture, it just shows you, it's just architecture that shows you the diagrams. Okay, it's just a diagrammatic representation of how the database components are connected, to show you the individual components of the database and how they are connected. If you're using a relation database, to show you the tables and how they are connected. So you have database architecture and software engineering or software architecture. Two, you're going to have process architecture. So process architecture simply means the way processes in a system are interconnected. Because remember that the login system here has its own process. We're going to call it PL. Okay. This one has got its own process. For instance, for a login, you're going to enter your phone number and your password, right? Your phone number and your password will be sent to the database, to a certain database here. Okay? Sent to a database. Database will fetch information using the phone number, and then there will be some sort of verification. And if the passwords happen to be correct, the numbers happen to be correct, the numbers that you enter, the details that you enter here, if they are correct with the information that is entered in the database, then you can be logged into the dashboard. So this entire step-by-step way of doing things on a login system is a process. Okay, it's a process, but process can go beyond this type of an algorithm. Process also means what is currently running in memory of a computer, not a computer program, but a computer itself. Okay, so you need to, when you're designing software, you need to draw also the process structure for each component and how they relate to each other. So there's a process for this component, a process for this component, process for this component, process for this component, process for this component. You need to document the process for each and every component and see if they're going to be working correctly together. Okay, so mostly when it comes to process design, we're going to focus on threads. A thread just means whenever a program is running, whenever a program is in memory, it is running, it creates what we call a thread. So a program that is currently running on a computer can be termed as what? As a thread. Or a thread is just a unit measure of the process of a computer program. Then also in process architecture, we also focus on is the process that's currently running asynchronous or is it synchronous? Okay, this sounds like two big words. So what is asynchronous? Asynchronous means that one process A can be running here, and while this process is still running here, a process B can start running also here. And while these two are running, another process C can start running within the same memory of the same computer. Okay, so when multiple processes are running at the same time, that is what you call asynchronous processing, or sometimes known as concurrency processing. Okay, then what is synchronous processing? Synchronous processing means that if A is running, B and C have to stop for A to run. And then when C is running, B and A have to stop for C to finish running. So meaning synchronous means only one program can run per time. Then asynchronous means multiple programs can run at the same time. Okay, so that is what process architecture is. So in process architecture, you're going to specify when the login is working, is something else going to be running as well, or is it just going to be a login system running alone and other things won't be running? Okay, so process architecture helps you to bring out those details about a software. Okay, the third architecture should be aware of is called the system architecture. So system architecture is the overall or the architecture for the entire system. So system architecture shows all the components in a software and how they are connected, all the subsystems. So you have database architecture or process architecture. So in system architecture, you're going to have one huge design or diagram or pictorial representation that shows the database architecture, the process architecture, all the architectures of the software will be interconnected in that single diagram. And that huge diagram is going to be called what? The system architecture. So you have database architecture, your process architecture, and also you have system architecture. Okay, so now architecture just simply means a pictorial representation of how individual components in a software are interconnected and how they interact with each other, right? So when you're doing architecture or designing architectures for a computer, you need some softwares for you to be able to design those architectures. So for you to design the architecture for a user end or a front end, okay, the visible part of the application, you can use Figma. Okay, Figma, it can be used for designing that. Photoshop can be used to design that kind of an architecture. If you want to design like a database, you can use a software called MySQL Workbench. If you want to design a system architecture or even the UI as well and the MySQL Workbench, you can use what? You can use Draw.io. Okay, so I'm going to do a simple demonstration of how these architectures are developed in Draw.io. Okay guys, so the software that I have opened on my computer is called Draw.io. So once you head over to google.com, you can just search here and say Draw.io. Okay, where did I click? Stop that situation. So I'm going to say Draw.io. Okay, you run this. After you run this, you're going to see this first link here, which is this icon here. See Draw.io. So we can, okay, let's go to draw.io.com. Okay, so here draw.io.com. So you can actually use this this software online just here if you want. Okay, so you just simply scroll down all the way on draw.io.com. You scroll down, you're going to find where it's written desktop. Okay, this part here where it's written desktop, you can say draw.io. Then you can download draw.io from here. Okay, so you say draw.io download for desktop. You go to GitHub. And on GitHub, you get the Windows installer if you're on Windows, if you're Mac OS. After you do that, you run your software, you complete your installation. And after you complete your installation, after installation is complete, you have a software. You can install it and run it, it will open it, look like this. Okay, so I'll draw just a simple architecture. Okay, let's say we're trying to draw the Facebook architecture. You can just get this and say, the first part that people are going to reach on our system will be on the home page. Okay, so from the home page, we're going to have someone come to the login page. Okay, from the login page, from the login page, if the login is successful, once the login is successful, someone is going to come to the dashboard. Okay, something you can draw like that. I can get this to indicate, okay, there, but here. So simply draw any simple architecture of any kind. Yep. Okay. So just like that, you keep on building your software until you build the entire architecture of the system that you want. So this is an example of how you draw architecture. It's simple, but yeah, you draw according to the software architecture that you want to write. Okay, guys, so this is what software architecture is, and that's one software that you can use to draw architecture of the software. So, okay, this marks the end of the lesson on software architecture.